Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hue Seth Show. I am your host, Hue Seth. And this episode is powered by the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce. Today, we get to explore the world of venture capital and emerging markets with Oliver von Wolff. Now, Oliver is a venture capitalist and venture builder with a strong background in the blockchain and fintech space, as well as experience in managing startups and venture capital investments. As the co-founder and CEO of Helion Ventures, a Dubai DIFC regulated investment company, Oliver von Wolff focused on investing in early stage tokens and fintech blockchain companies. He has also held various other roles in the blockchain and venture capital space, including managing director, MENA for CV Labs and CVVC Switzerland, and group CFO and equity partner of a global crypto asset management and blockchain focused venture capital group. Oliver, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the invitation, and I'm looking forward to our conversation, what we will have.
Oliver, again, I've been super excited and looking forward to this conversation, and I think that there's so much value that you have just stored in that mind of yours, and I've been looking forward to just unpicking that and also hearing some cool discoveries as to what's going on in the venture capital space, especially blockchain. There's a lot going on right now, so super excited. Now, I think that maybe we should start with discussing things going on in the early stage space, right? So my question for you, Oliver, is what do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges in investing in early stage tokens and fintech blockchain companies?
I mean, I would say you have to consider on what kind of market we are at the moment. If you're looking just like a year, 1.5 years back, we've been in a very bullish market. Everyone were putting his tokens, made the ICOs, and they collected a lot of money for startups which were not so valid or not in a good, let's say, not managed well. So now we are in a bear market, and things has been changed dramatically. So let's say also in general, I think our banking and the venture capital industry are in a change at the moment. Yeah, we are in a kind of transmission from, let's say, 2.0 industry to also like a 3.0 industry, Web3 industry. Yeah, we see already this in some banking areas. I mean, banking most likely is still in 1.0 they're still using fax machines, yeah. So, and it's the same with the VCs. So what we could see here, at least in the ecosystem in the MENA region, a couple, let's say, months or 2 years ago, we had a lot of traffic from outside in. So a lot of companies came here from Europe, from Africa, from Asia. Of course, also because of the environment, we had COVID. Dubai was still a very open area to walk and to meet people and to have still events and move forward with the business. So we had a lot of people coming from outside in. So this is how the ecosystem here in the MENA region or like in Dubai were built. Yeah, from startups, from people, from mindsets, from talents, which came from all over the world here to Dubai. So as managing director from CV Labs, I was also responsible for the DMCC Crypto Center. Yeah, and we created together with the DMCC authority, let's say the legal framework, the licenses. Yeah, at this time, and we onboarded over 1,000 companies in like a very short time, from September 2021 to like last year, April 2022. So, and what we see nowadays here, it's more a growth from, let's say, outside in. So what I mean with this, if I look today, for example, to Dubai, if I look to Saudi, if I look to Egypt or Tunisia, Moroccan, yeah, so there are young startups which growing the ecosystem, and they are more or less like local founders. And I think that's also very interesting to recognize it, especially with, let's say, MENA as a part of North Africa. Yeah. So if I look to Africa, I don't see so much like countries. I see more like regions. Yeah. And one region in which we are investing is the MENA region. It means North Africa. So, but coming back to your question, I mean, I think it was very easy a couple of months or years ago to collect money for startups. Yeah, it was very interesting. Like 1 week later, after they collected the money, you saw nice Instagram posts, and they had great parties in Miami, in Florida. And then you were thinking, okay, damn, I do something wrong. So they're collecting money and having immediately parties, and I'm still working. I mean, the reality is that, yes, they collected money, and these are very young and very, let's say, technical driven people, which I have sometimes problem really to understand what kind of product they will develop. Yeah, but the truth is nowadays, especially in a beer market, you have to know what you're doing. And this is where also Helion Ventures picks up the opportunities, because we have on the one side the young people, challenged people, mid-age of 20, develop their own product, yeah, and doing something really great. Yeah, and on the other people, you still have the old economy, let's say, yeah, the institutional investors. So, and there's a big gap between these two kind of, let's say, entrepreneurs, yeah, and investors. And what we're trying to do with Helion Ventures, we're trying to close this gap, yeah, and bringing them together. And I think in the current market situation, this is very important. So what we're doing, we're not just a venture capitalist, we're also like a venture builder. What does it mean? So we make if we decided that we think a product is interesting, we're making a very detailed due diligence. So we're looking not only to the team, we're also looking to the legal framework. We're looking how the company structure is. We look to the white papers in detail and all those kind of things. Yeah, really to figure out. And then mostly we see some red flags, yeah, for institutional investors. And then we try to work with the startup, yeah, to eliminate these red flags and to make the startup more successful.
Wow, so much just shared. Okay, so let's take it let's take it from the top. Right. You just shared how it was easier to raise capital, rightfully so, couple months back, or 2021 and so forth, 2020, 2021 and whatnot. Yep. Now things have become more difficult. My question is, for Helion Ventures specifically, what is your current investment thesis?
I mean, we are very much opportunistic, but our investment thesis is we're investing in emergency markets, early stage seed rounds, yeah. But we are quite open, let's say, about the different industries. We're looking most likely for projects which have like a bridge function. What I mean with this? This is a project where you would invest your money also without blockchain or innovative technology. So it has a real user case. Yeah, and then blockchain, fintech, all the things coming on top. Yeah, a bit like to rebuild the industry. Mm-hmm. So what do I mean with this? For example, we are invested in a company. It's named 3Air, yeah, and it's an innovative technology company bringing internet to Africa. So besides they have an excellent product, yeah, we can 90% cheaper bring internet to locations in Africa, yeah, because it's a new technology. They also set up their customer base on a blockchain. So and in this way, it's not only telecommunication then with the blockchain and having your customer case on a blockchain, you are able to provide financial services, insurance services, all kind of other services. Yeah, so and this makes it to a kind for us a bridge product. It has a real user case in a real world with a real product where I would consider as an equity company, I would like to invest, yeah. But then on top, it has some innovative part in Web3, for example. And that's most likely for the projects which we're looking for.
Okay, now that was for the projects, so the startup itself. Now, yes. I want to know, what are you looking for in the founder? What are your check boxes?
You mean the management when we going to
The person, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a key function to find out if something is a fraud or yeah. So if you look to people histories, most of them are a bit eclectic. I mean, if they have it done once, they might be doing it the second time. So I'm not saying, if you're an entrepreneur, always a business idea can fail. This is not what I'm talking about. A honest, serious guy is developing a product and then just, I don't know, it didn't work out. So let's say this is not a non-criteria of not investing in someone. It's more about to see, okay, what did the guy before? What did the team before? What are the people in the team? How much experience they have? Did they successfully finish the project and launched it maybe? Yeah. So this is more what we're looking about. And this is most likely where you also can identify already in a very, very early stage about the project. Because in a very early stage, you're investing in a vision. Yeah, that's not really substantial assets or anything. Yeah, you invest in people's vision to build product. So the key factor is human capital, and the key factor is the knowledge and the know-how and the experience of these people. Yeah. So and also from our side, I mean, we know the ecosystem in the MENA region very well, especially here in Dubai. Yeah. So we can easily identify also like let's say spam companies or not serious people. Yeah. It's a bit more difficult from companies coming outside in where we don't have experience before. But also here we go through a very deeply due diligence with our projects, really to check the background of the founders.
So let's take a step back a little bit. I want to know why blockchain. Why did you decide to raise a fund targeting this region, and then also with this sector?
Well, I could say a bit ironically, I'm missing the sound of the internet of the 90s. I don't know if you, when you had the modem and then it was dialing in. So it's a bit the same developing, let's say. I now in 96, I had my first workstation for the university, and I could go into internet. Yeah, so. And everyone was talking about, oh, you have internet, you have internet. No one is talking about today about it. It just got a part of our daily life. And I see the same in the blockchain. Yeah, so in 5 years, no one will talk anymore about blockchain projects or something like this, because it will be most likely adopted by the industry. Yeah, so of course there are always like very innovative startups and company creating new products, creating their own blockchain or whatever. But most likely the main question for us as investor is how this product can be adapted from the regular or normal industry, to create a user case. So for me, blockchain is yes, it's something excited. And I really like it, and I really see there a lot of potential. But at the end of the day, it's only one technical part of a kind of technology-driven evolution in which we are at the moment.
I recall growing up. I'm young enough to where I didn't really understand the progression of technology, internet, and what have you, but old enough to have experienced it. And I remember, when you want to get on the internet back in the days, let's say 2000, 2002, whatever, AOL, you have to wait for the running man and the next, and that each form takes like an hour or more just to load up. So it was easier to play outside back in those days because you just got sick of waiting anyway. But now look at what we have, right?
And there's very interesting fact on this, all this original, let's say, Web's 1.0 companies who made this happen for us to have internet.
Yeah.
They're not existing anymore. They're not market leaders. So, and we will see the same in the block area and in the block space. And that's the reason for me to say, okay, let's say if you invest in a seed company, you never invest, I very often when we have pitches and companies coming us and asking for money, I hear, if we have 1% of this, that's already then for me like a no criteria, because he didn't understood where a seed company should be.
Right.
You're not growing in a niche. You're not growing in competition with the big ones. You're only growing in a niche. Yeah, and a lot of the startups are trying to go in competition with the big ones. Yeah, but you don't have the money for this. You cannot raise so much money. So the point is really for me, and that's like an additional criterion for investing in a startup is, beside the management team, is, does this product fills a niche? Yeah, because that's the only part or the only place where you can really grow. So, and with this niche product, you can adapt to the industry then, to the let's say a conventional industry. So, and a lot of startups, when I see them, they trying to develop something to make something existing more easier. That's nice. Yeah, that's a good idea. But this is not the blockchain company's startup which will drive the technical innovation in the future.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yes.
Now, let's can we dive into ecosystems a bit? The region you're in, very unique, very interesting ecosystem, MENA region and sub-Saharan Africa. I want to know, when it comes to building ecosystems, because that's something you've done before and you have experience and you're currently doing. What are the key components of a strong blockchain ecosystem, and how does one go about building it?
There are most likely three main components which you need. Yeah, one I already spoke about. It are the talents. Yeah, it's the second one is the capital, and the third one is the infrastructure. So Dubai, like 3 years ago, they had, let's say, besides, of course, the capital and the infrastructure, yeah, they attracted a lot of talents coming here. Yeah, and with these talents, the innovation was faster than the regulation here in Dubai. So now they're trying to catch up here with the regulation. What is not easy, because there's no regulation worldwide or in each country, or like in any country at the moment, about this kind of technology. So it's very difficult to build a regulation or to wrap it in a regulation inside. So innovation always drives the regulation behind. Yeah, but there are the three main components. So if I look to Africa now, how to develop ecosystems in Africa. First of all, I think Africa has a lot of talents. Yeah, we see this in South Africa, in East Africa, Kenya, Uganda. We also see this in Nigeria, but also the, let's say, crypto, blockchain, DeFi space in Morocco and Egypt is very big. Yeah, so you have a lot of talents, and Africa, unfortunately, Africa have a lot of commodities. The problem is that a lot of these commodities, or the profit of these commodities, goes outside of the continent. So, for example, with blockchain, you can get a solution for this, that you have a clear, like, commodity production chain, yeah, from how this, let's say, if you're mining gold, let's take something like a real commodity. If you're mining gold, yeah, in this mining, how much get this employer paid? It's green mining, where it went is next, you know, and you see all the steps. And if you put this, for example, on a blockchain, it would help dramatically, for example, to keep value in Africa and to keep capital in Africa. And I think that's the nice thing on Web3. For me, the most exciting thing on Web3 is that I know who is the original creator or owner of a product or of an idea. Yeah, so for Africa, as I said, you have the talents, yeah, you have the capital, what might be not equal at the moment, but you have enough money in Africa. But what you really need is infrastructure. And that's the reason, for example, for Helion Ventures, why we invested in telecommunication in Africa. Because we believe that if we bring infrastructure to Africa, and you have already the other two components, yeah, then you can build an ecosystem. Yeah, it's also like a bit a fundamental thing, because our economic change, what was built up, let's say, over the last 20 to 30 years, has been excluded a lot of people of an economy change. So look, if you have a producer, let's say from, I don't know, from clothes or whatever, somewhere in Uganda, let's say, just pick it out, it can be any other country in Africa. Yeah, and as soon they have an internet, they have a wallet, yeah, they have access to payment systems, yeah, they can produce, they can be entrepreneurs, and we can include them in our economic chain again. And I think this is very important for the future, for developing the ecosystem in Africa.
When you say infrastructure, please clarify what are we looking at when we're talking infrastructure?
Infrastructure is if you talk about infrastructure, most people they're thinking about roads, telecommunication, public sector, and so on. Of course, these are very important components, but to be honest, the world looks not so, let's say, so shiny, because the resources what we have on this world are already, let's say, administrated by owners. Let's put it on this way. So Africa cannot go the same industrial development as, for example, Europe did it, the US did it, or China did it, because there are just not enough resources on the one side, and on the other side, the environment pollution would be too high. So Africa has a huge opportunity to jump over all of these developed countries in adopting 3.0 technology. And this is what, in my opinion, must be happen in Africa. So if you're looking now prospectively 20 years in front, yeah, so you have the chance to implement infrastructure which is much, much more advanced and much more in front of the technology of what we have in Europe, or what we have in Asia, or what we have in the US. So, and this is the big opportunity what Africa has of building up infrastructure in Africa. Did you understand it? You look a bit like, oh my God, so what did you tell me?
Oliver, I overstand it, but you know, you're saying some things that may be coming across as strange for maybe some people even here in the diaspora in the United States. You know, the idea of Africa tends to be one of, you know, individuals living in huts. You know, one of like NGO and donations and things like that. Now you're talking about the technology in this place that I just mentioned, potentially having more superior technology and infrastructure 25 years in the future, perhaps? That just sounds very strange, you know?
Yeah, but this is the opportunity of Africa. Yeah, and at this, you know, I see this opportunity what Africa has, and I see the talents. And I have a lot of friends in Africa, and and they're really like enthusiastic blockchain and crypto guys, and they really want to do something for their country. So, and here's the opportunity. The opportunity is not going on the same way like as we did, like in the industrial countries. The opportunity is to make a jump over them and to implement technologies which are at the moment, like, of course they are young, but it gives you, I give you a very simple example. For example, we have a project from Egypt. Yeah, so, and this project in Egypt, they are little farmers, and they have a problem of selling their products or get a better price for it. Yeah, on the purchase side and on the sales side, on both sides. So what they're doing, they found a kind of a union, yeah, and they put all their products on a blockchain. So they can exactly tell who produced, let's say, this corn, in which area, under which conditions, yeah, and how the product got sold. You have everything on a blockchain. And they do this because they can refinance this on a blockchain easily on the international markets. Yeah. Or another example is if you look to the healthcare system in Africa. Yeah. If you take South Africa, Yeah, so South Africa, someone has the insurance contract and insurance contract. So, and they're telling you, okay, you have a doctor, like you have to go, let's say, a bit, let's say, over exaggerating, like you have to go from Cape Town to Johannesburg to get a doctor appointment. Yeah, and all the things you can put on a blockchain. You don't need paper, you don't need complicated passport regulations and all this kind of stuff. You have one number, identify number, it solves everything. And it's the same for banking. You know, every bank struggling with AML, KYC, it's a headache. You know, it's meanwhile an economic grow break, yeah, at least here in Dubai. People setting up a company and then they're waiting 9 to 12 months for a bank account. Yeah, so this all can be done on a blockchain. This all can be done with new technologies. And you just go to your bank and say, look, banking 3.0, this is my code. The bank takes the code and they got, even not knowing your personal data, they know exactly you're a nice guy, you're a hardworking guy, and this money comes not from any criminal acts. It's your money because you worked for it. And they can open in 10 minutes a bank account for you. All these technologies are existing. Yeah, and this is the infrastructure about what I'm talking about to adapt for Africa. And I think because there is a gap maybe of capital, yeah, not building up the same infrastructures what we have in Europe, for example, Africa has the opportunity, yeah, to adapt the 3.0 technologies.
Okay, you just shared some insights with your friends and people that you know and what they're doing and their feelings and thoughts towards this. Yeah. But where I'm headed with this point / question is obviously the conversation of corruption, which you cannot escape this conversation when talking about that region and what's happening. Now, I'm not sure whether to take a pessimistic position when it comes to the corruption or if I should be an optimist. What are your thoughts when you think corruption, blockchain, and, obviously when we discuss this blockchain and all the solutions that it's going to bring and how it's going to solve all these things? The thing is, I haven't seen any ruler, anybody in the position of power in history that willingly relinquished it. It's something that you don't see quite often. So what would incentivize those who are benefiting from the system that currently exists to then say, hey, let me relinquish this or let me even out the playing field? It just doesn't sound normal. Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I mean, I understand what you're talking about because I understand that a lot of companies facing these topics in Africa. I mean, I don't have a solution for this. I think it can be mostly only solved, let's say, by Africans by themselves. Yeah, but principle, what we see, if an economic is linked too much to only one industry, you have the highest corruption. Yeah, so if it's oil in Nigeria, if it's gold in Zimbabwe, is it oil in Russia? Is it financial industry London to the UK? If an industry is a land is too much or a country is too much focused on one industry, yeah, you have the highest adoption of corruption in this country. So now, for me personally, there's also a difference between who is doing this corruption. Yeah, so first of all, I think, governments should pay their people proper so that, if you have a policeman or someone working in let's say government, yeah, and maybe I drawing now a picture which is not right, but you see the boss on the top just put all the money in his pocket, and you don't know how to feed your family at the end of the month. Of course, these people are open for additional let's say payments, let's put it in this way, yeah. So I think it also has to do a lot with education, yeah, and as more people get educated and as more people see how it works and that reveling, they bring all these ideas back also to Africa, yeah. And then, in my idea here, really blockchain can help, to reduce at least on a specific level the corruption. Because on a blockchain you see, and this is what I said, for example, with Egypt, this little farmers is not anymore pending on a big corporate, squeezing him out. So he sees exactly, okay, this is how I produced, this is how it got sold, and this is my profit, what I have. And I mean, it's okay if people make money between. Because just our economic chain, that you have wholesale traders and all this between. It's more about transparency. It's more about knowing who is between and who's taking something. So, and I think that here really blockchain can help to reduce corruption on the one side, but I see it in much more like economic positive way to help entrepreneurs to see, let's say, where the product's ending, where the product goes, who is really benefiting of their product and this kind of things. And I think here really blockchain can bring a significant part of it.
We also know government, super important. And once government is on board, things happen. I want to know, let's focus on the positive now. I just asked you something kind of on the dark side of things, but how is government aiding the advancement of blockchain development and blockchain ecosystems in the MENA region?
I mean, I think the MENA region is here not really comparable with other ones in a positive way.
Okay.
Because here things, someone makes a decision and the things get implemented. And Dubai understood in a very early stage with the Dubai blockchain strategy already 2022, to how to use blockchain for authorities and municipals, let's say, in an efficiency way, and for industrial creation and international leadership.
Okay.
So I would say the bigger problems are like the more democratic economics. If, for example, if I take Germany, in Germany we have a huge complicated tax system. So I always say it's the most people, Germans who are coming here to buy, they're most likely tax immigrants. So they're like, if the government could put everything on a blockchain and make it much more easy and simple for all people paying taxes in Germany, because it's really a hassle, So, but why they don't do it? Because they're trying to protect their jobs. So here in the MENA region with the, let's say, with the leaderships, what we have here, they are able to implement such kind of innovative technologies much easier and faster. And that's the reason why they slowly picking up and going even ahead of like developed countries. We here in Germany, I don't know how it's in the US, I can only speak about Germany. And so, we always hear how great we are and what we're producing and blah, blah, blah. But if I compare our infrastructure to other countries' infrastructure, we are already behind. So we are many things behind in digitalization, transformation of economy, and all these kind of things. The problem is just no one is telling it to people. So, and I think that's the biggest gap in about the transformation of our economies. So, and I think here in the MENA region, you have leaderships who want to bring this technology to the market because they take the profit out of it. They understand, if my authorities, if my municipals, they work high effective and high efficiency, then I save money and I can spend this money in other industries. So I have a nice example. I work very close together with the blockchain associations, for example, from the Baltic states. And one of them is Estonia. And in Estonia, everything is on a blockchain. So if I want to set up a company, it's like in an hour. So, and if I want to change the register of the company, it costs me €6 maybe, and it's done in most likely also in 1 or 2 hours. If I go to Germany and I want to change the name of my company or the place of registration, I have to wait like 4 months to get a notary appointment. Then I go to this notary, then I pay 1,200 euros to change the name of my company, and it takes additional 6 to 9 months until it gets entered in the commercial register. So this, I mean, is obviously, here Germany has a competitor, and we could make it, of course, easier. But all this lobby, they try to protect their own jobs. So, but you have in Africa this opportunity because you don't have this lobby people there in this kind of way. So that's the reason why you have the opportunity to adapt this industry 3.0, let's say, for Africa. And this is what the MENA region is already doing. They're adapting these new technologies. And they're trying now to create a regulation about tokenization, brokerage, all these kind of things of digital assets with the VARA regulation, what they're just trying to implement here in Dubai. Of course, it's very difficult because there is no copy-paste opportunity. You really create something out of a green field. You build something of a green field. You lead this. I mean, there's one part of leading the technology, but they're trying to lead the regulation, and that's the reason why this attracts a lot of companies coming also to Dubai, and why the MENA region is far ahead of other, let's say, economics, because they're really trying to adapt this kind of new technologies for the industries.
Oof. Oh my God, man! This is. See, I knew you won't disappoint. That's why I've been excited for this conversation. I knew you won't disappoint. I want to dive into how do you navigate your relationships with regulators?
How I navigate, that's a difficult question. I'm more not on the regulation side. Mm-hmm. So the regulation are done by very, let's say, what I can say I would see, and also what I see in Dubai or in Saudi, for example. We have a kind of switch in the generation here. And the young leaders and the young rulers, they really want to adopt this kind of technologies and industry. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of backside push, I think, to move forward. So sometimes, even I'm integrated here and I talk with people, I'm surprised by myself how much they're pushing this industry. So, and I really think, so at the moment, when I came here in the beginning, like 2020, and we spoke here about blockchain and crypto products and financial products, they had all big eyes like this, So, first company which I worked for, and we had here we had a regulated Bitcoin product in Europe, and we tried to make a dual listing here in Dubai. So when we came to the DIFC, to the DFSA, it's the regulator for the DIFC, and we spoke about, we want to do a dual listing of a full regulated product from Germany. Say, oh yeah, no problem. Nice, you're welcome. What is it? A Bitcoin ETN. What? What's that? So, there were like big eyes and question marks. Today is part of their business. These crazy ideas, and they are very open to explore these ideas with investors. So if you really have a challenged idea, and you always can go and you can talk. Of course there are regulations in place, and there are limits, and there are borders, but in principle they are open to explore new ideas. So, and that's really something what I like here. And I mean, I have family in the US, and I spend a lot of time in the US. But at the moment, if I compare it, this spirit, let's say, what you had used to be maybe in the US, you have now in Dubai. The spirit of, you can make it, you have an idea, you can realize this idea, from this, let's say, dishwasher to the millionaire. This you can be now in Dubai. Because you have here the opportunity. The government is not like tackling you with regulations and all this kind of stuff and taxes and so on. They have a very open market here. They have a very open mindset. Yeah, and they want to attract these people because their interest to get this know-how here in the region. And now what we see is the adoption by the younger generation here. Yeah, so by the locals, let's say. And I just was a couple weeks ago. I was in Saudi on the Leap. That's a big like Chitex in Dubai. The opposite is like the Leap in Saudi. Yeah, and you see a lot of young locals, let's say Saudis, who creating their own blockchain layer. They're creating their own crypto ideas, DeFi platforms and stuff like this. You know, they learned from people coming outside in. They adapted it to their, you know, I just spoke here also like in one of the summits with an Italian professor for technology here from the university. And they already have blockchain. They have all these kinds of things already in their studies. It's already part of here. So, and that's the reason why the young generation here adopt this very fast. Because they're open for this new technology and they want to have it because they want to be ruling the ecosystem and this technology in the future.
That's an awesome aspiration. I want to know about the startups now, and so much going on. What would you say some of the biggest challenges you faced in managing and transforming startups, and how did you end up overcoming that?
I mean, the biggest, let's say at the moment, the biggest things what we're facing in startups is that, as I said, you know, I started a couple universities. I have a couple of degrees because everyone tells me you need this to reach that level and so on and so on. You know, if I look to my, let's say, senior crypto analyst, middle of 20, no university, 8 years blockchain crypto, yeah, high IQ. So these are the generation about who we're talking about. They are entrepreneurs. They do not fit in this, you know, and if I bring them together, let's say, with a Wall Street investment banker, I mean, there are just a huge gap. And I see this here if we talk, I mean, we had a lot of big banks here in Dubai talking about the adoption of DeFi for financial products, for example, yeah. And how they think and how they move, it's too slowly. They do not adapt the industry. They understand maybe the technology if you're happy, but they don't understand how fast this market goes. Yeah, so I have here this young challenge people, yeah, which do not fit and are not fitting in any like former, let's say, economic system, yeah, and then you have the old industry. And this adoption, I would say, is the moment the biggest challenge. So when we want to help such people, yeah, so when we going to raise money, we raise this money from family offices and from the traditional banking and institutional world, yeah. So, and it's very difficult because most of them, on the one side, they don't understand the technology, number one. And if they're very open to this new technology, they have maybe already made bad experience in the past, yeah. And number three, you have to explain to these people that this young guy, without Harvard, Stanford, Cambridge, or whatever, built a platform for the future of your company. So, and this makes it a bit more complicated, let's say, and this is the gap what we're trying to fit, that this both that they meet somewhere. Because this young, innovative guy who creates the future needs the capital and also the know-how and the knowledge of the experienced world. And the opposite way, so each or the both needs each other and they have to fit somehow. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest challenge. So, as beside, we're venture capital, I already said, we are like venture builders. So we have partners around the world. And when a startup is applying for us, then we're trying to pick up the startup, which we think which is interesting for us to invest. Yeah, and then when we're going through the due diligence, we see, okay, they have maybe a topic with the white paper, they have a topic with the legal framework, they have a topic with the business plan, they have a topic with the user case or whatever, yeah. So then we're trying to pick them up there and trying, I don't want to say to educate them, but trying to help them to place their product in the traditional world. Yeah. And I think this is a huge challenge, with a lot of like young entrepreneurs and startup facing. Yeah, last year I was in Lisbon on a summit, and there were like 5 companies pitching. Yeah, and it was just horrible. Yeah, and I said this at the end, no one should get any money because this pitching was so horrible. It says nothing about the product. Yeah, but how they sold and how they pitched were just horrible. But they just don't know it better. They are young guys, they never pitched before. Of course, if you have a nice and a bullish market, everyone just throwing money in, you don't need this professionality. But in a beer market, you need people who know how it works and to lead them and to guide them to get to this point to be attractive for traditional investors. And that's the gap, and that's, I think, the problem what a lot of the startups facing at the moment.
Okay, I wanted to ask you something on global market trends, but I don't think I'll be giving justice to our startups founders who are listening if I don't ask you what are some of those errors that you've seen in the pitching process that completely turned you off.
Yeah, I mean, it's the understanding of for what an investor is looking for in a pitch. Yeah, so the most of the startups there they are very much technical driven. So they were sitting like 2 years at home in front of their computer and were building an exciting product. Yes. So, and of course they are very excited to show the world their product. But for, let's say, like an institutional investor, there are other components are very important. Yeah, so, and then most likely these pitches, they're missing something. I mean, pitches, you have maybe 2 minutes or 5 minutes, yeah, and in this time, you have to present your company. Yeah, so there are main components like, let's say, the team, organization, product, yeah, standalone criteria for the product, why I should be invested, what is my profit out of. So like, let's say, between 5 and 8 criteria to present to investors. Yeah, and then these guys, they're staying there and they're talking about their product without touching one of these topics, for example. Yeah, so you see they're excited, they are nervous, and that's nice to see, but this is not how a pitch should be done. And the product is maybe amazing, but no one knows it, and no one ever will know it because they're missing professional components and the experience for the pitch. And that's a pity thing. And it's not always like this, at least what we're seeing, that there's also like a bit the difference, what I just want to explain, there's a lot of money in the market because just our, let's say, the central banks, they print enough. Yeah. So there's a lot of money by institutional people in the market. But these people, they don't have a deal flow. They don't know where to deploy the money. So, and I think it's not enough anymore just to take a handful of cash and to give it to companies. Yeah, and to hope, let's say, from 100 investments, there will be hopefully one unicorn between. So what we're doing with our investor money is, and our portfolio, we're really trying to invest in companies which bringing an additional allocation and value to our already invested companies in our portfolio. So it means I'm not looking for this one unicorn in 100, I'm looking for each of these unicorns and how I can create value for them. Not only for the startups in helping them like as a studio in pitching and helping them to networking and give them advice and guidelines and all these kinds of things, also from the investor side. Because also the investors facing the problem, that the money which they invested most likely get lost in the Web3 space. Yeah. So, and if you see how they invested their money, they never had a proper due diligence because they don't know what are the criteria of a Web3 company, what I have to look for. And you cannot manage this like as they managed it over the last years. And that's the reason why I said at the beginning, not only the banking industry is in a kind of transmission, also the VC industry is in a kind of transmission. Because it's not anymore enough just to deploy money. You have to create for the startups and your investors an additional value, yeah. And this only you can do with additional services. For additional services, you need professional people in your company. Otherwise, you cannot offer this kind of, let's say, guidelines for startups. Yeah, and on the other side, also like institutional investors who want to explore the blockchain and the crypto market, they also need additional guidelines. Yeah, it's not so that they are too arrogant to understand that this young guy has been maybe developed the technology which helps to rescue this corporate guy, his company. Yeah, it's also, it's like, they're also a bit shy, yeah, because they were ruling the market, and now this young guy comes and telling them, look, you have to do everything in a different way.
Yeah.
So, but this is, let's say, I know I over accelerate maybe a bit, but this is at the moment how the market works. So, and you have to take this institutional investor on the hand, and it's most likely a process of 1 or 2 years to show him everything, to get trust, to show in what kind of companies to invest, and to show not everything what has to do, let's say, with blockchain and crypto is just a fake or scam or whatever. Yeah, so yeah, this takes time. It also takes time for the young guy, yeah, to adopt that there are still like existing traditional rules. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and you have to try to fit this together.
Okay, so I think we have time for one, maybe 2 questions, and I want to ask you essentially, what should Africa expect from Helion Ventures in 2023 and beyond? Actually, so not just 2023, but moving forward. You already started giving us insights to 25 years.
Yeah. Actually, we active looking for setting up an Helion Venture studio in Africa. Yeah, we just not 100% sure at the moment where this will be and how it will look like. So that's the reason why we, at the moment, trying to make a lot of partnerships with Africa to know the ecosystem better and to know the people better, and to find also the right people to do something like this. Not because it's a journey, you get like married with someone, and then you just want to move smoothly forward. I think there are already successful venture builders from Europe and Africa. Yeah, if I just look, for example, to CVVC from Switzerland, they opened in Cape Town and studio, and they're already like investing in Africa. They fundraise for Africa. And we also would like to go in a similar way, but not in competition to them, more building something what helps to create the ecosystem. And, creating an ecosystem is more or less like building a football team, let's say. Yeah, you need a goalkeeper and you need someone running and defender and all this kind of stuff. So a good team always is not only the best one. If you take the best people, you might be not having a good team. Yeah, and to get a good team, you have to be a bit like picky into thinking about how to bring the things together. So, but we believe that the ecosystem in Africa will grow, and our challenge for 2023 will be to find the right partners, for the ecosystem or for Africa, so that we are then at one point feel comfortable to setting up an Helion Venture studio in Africa, and of course then also open like an investment pipeline for young startups in Africa.
All right, I think we have time for one more. And
Okay.
back to this global market trends. I want to hear your thoughts on this one. So, what are some of the most important global market trends you're currently following, and why do you think they're significant?
You know, it's a. I think this. What you had most likely in industries were like, let's say, a bottom-up developing. Yeah, you had the product, let's say, in one country, and then they got global. Blockchain, Web3, and all this kind of technologies, they are global and going local. Yeah, and this is also what I mentioned with Dubai. Dubai got so successful because a lot of this like outside-in movements are a global movements to a local Dubai, because Dubai created the ecosystem that such kind of entrepreneurs and companies, they feel comfortable to come here. So, and if I look to the world today, then one thing what definitely I see is that we will have a more diversified world in more like regional or economy regions. Yeah, China, India, Europe, US, Africa. Yeah, so it will be a bit more diversified. And the second one, what I think, I mean, I was studying economics. So, and more or less, what we started in economics, the mechanism and the thesis and all these kind of things, they are still existing, but it seems they are not working. And they're not working because governments, they corrupted the market so much that the mechanisms doesn't work anymore. So, and this is for me like the biggest risk what I see at the moment. We're talking about regulations, yeah, but we're not talking about free markets, liberty markets, which are able to regulate themselves. Yeah, and I think that's a very big issue what we're facing in the future, because if you look to the carbon trading, CO2 trading, it's a completely artificial government-make market. Yeah, and that's the reason why this mechanism doesn't work in it. Yeah, so, and we have to come back to more to the basics of our, let's say, free economics. Yeah, that people can decide where they want to do a business, how they want to do a business, that they are able, free to speech and to travel, yeah, without restrictions, yeah, to set up their economics and to run their businesses. And as I said, blockchain Web3 is global to local. So if you take the freedom of the people to travel and to to explore new destinations, yeah, this would be very bad for the let's say, especially for blockchain and Web3. But it's my personal opinion. So.
Oh my, I can't wait to rewatch this recording here a few times myself personally and take some more notes. I mean, so much you shared. This was well expected. You did not disappoint. Matter of fact, I think you overdid yourself. So thank you so much for joining us here. It's been a pleasure having an opportunity to pick your brain and get this recording in.
So I hope, I was a bit sick, so my voice gives up at one point a bit. So, but I hope I could at least give some. It's not about, no one has the pure truths. There are many truths existing, but I think, and that's part of education, is to have different point of views, because only then you can create your own opinion and your own way to go. And I think that's one thing what I see by entrepreneurs who are successful. They not only have their vision, it's not about how often you fall. It's about how often you stand up and you move forward. Yes. And this is something what never should ever take from an entrepreneur or from the blockchain industry. Yeah, but it's also something what I noticed now on the last events in Dubai, like 3 years ago, when you've been to this crypto blockchain summits, you had like really inspired people. They really want to change the world and want to do something better. Now it's got already a bit like more corporate style. They're coming smart casual, not anymore in t-shirts and stuff like this. Yeah. So also the industry is in a kind of change at the moment. And it's on the one side, I hope not that the spirit get lost from the blockchain, yeah, and from the crypto guys. And on the other side, it also shows that the traditional industry also is adapting these technologies. Yeah. And I think this kind of mixture is really what we need also.
Man, I think Oliver is trying to start another conversation here. You have my, you have my Oh man, no, honestly, oh my goodness, just so much to unravel. And you know, the beautiful thing is this is my absolute last conversation for the day. It's currently 1 a.m. over here, and and I believe it's 10 a.m. in where you are currently, right? Yeah. So you know, I get a chance to sleep and get all this ingrained in my memory, right? But you know what's even more cool than that is the fact that, again, I'm in Minnesota and you're where you are all the way in Germany, in the UAE area, and we're able to have this conversation. You're drinking coffee, I'm drinking water. And we're having this conversation. Now, can you imagine? I get so excited when we talk about blockchain because I know it's just going to 10x everything with all the innovation that's that we're awaiting. So this has been an awesome conversation, Oliver. Seriously, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Very welcome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk today. And I hope when you come to Dubai, we can have something else as water and coffee. Yeah, you're very much invited.
In-person podcast. Woo! Thank you, Oliver.
Come to Dubai.